Recently, I decided to do my very first art challenge, and I'm so glad that I did it because I learned some unexpected things. And today, I'm going to share 5 unexpected things that I learned.
Good morning, chickies. Hello, chickies. Mr. Rooster.
There are a lot of art challenges out there, but the one I chose was Inktober because it's October. It's the one going on right now. Plus, it kind of suited my needs for what I wanted to get out of the art challenge. I decided to do the Inktober because I hope to get a routine in place for doing art every single day or art business related activities every single day. And let me tell you why this was necessary. In order to do that, I have to give you a little bit of history for context. Let me tell you about my family. We have 3 sons. 2 are adults and are married to beautiful young women who we just love and adore. And one of them is still at home. He is a high schooler. And our high schooler was born with a gene abnormality that causes some medical issues. This gene abnormality is actually so rare that they've never documented it in another person. So the doctors and us as parents, we are learning from our son, and we're not sure 100% what it causes. But the last several years have been about focusing on his health. He's not only diagnosed with this very rare gene abnormality, but also mitochondrial disease, autism, some neurological brain issues. The Lord has provided for our family through my husband's income throughout the years, but as we have learned more and more about our son's medical needs, it's become very apparent that he is going to need the type of care and support that he's getting here at home throughout his entire life. And so we have been praying about how do we put some money aside in a trust for him so that he will always be taken care of. So as we've been praying about this through the years, we have come to the conclusion that it is now time for me to launch my art career, and here we are. That's why I decided to do Inktober, because I really needed to shift my focus back to doing something every single day for my art business. So now that you know what I had hoped to gain out of Inktober and that was successful, let me tell you about the things that I learned that I didn't expect to learn. One thing was how to organize my supplies in a better way. I didn't expect that. We have an art room because my son likes to do art as well, so we share an art room in our house. Our spare bedroom is basically an art room. However, that is also where he does his schooling. And I was sitting there at my art desk doing art while he was doing schooling. Well, that turned out to be a distraction not only for me doing art, but for him. We decided to move my art table out into our dining room. Our dining room is quite large. The dining room table is behind me. We just shifted it. We moved that table against the wall and then put my table in the corner right in front of the where the kitchen and the dining room meet. This works great because, to be honest, my lighting in here is way better. I'm not distracting him, but I can still hear him if he calls me and needs help with a class or needs help with something on the computer. So it works out really well. However, I did have to figure out, well, what art supplies do I need to have on my table so that I'm not constantly having to go down the hall into the art room, distracting him and getting more, what I need. So I had to really focus on what I need, in addition to the fact that it's in my dining room. And if we're going to have company over, family over, and we're going to have a meal, I want to be able to move it very easily. So I've put my art supplies on this tray and I've organized it in a way. The closest to me are the things that I use throughout the entire piece. And then moving back gradually are the things that I don't use regularly, but do need to use on every single piece. Everything is right within arm's reach. It's on a tray. I can pick it up, take it back into the art room easily if we're going to have company over, I can either just push this table up against the wall, or we could, my husband could help me take one end and carry it into the art room if we wanted to move it out completely, depending on how many people we're having over. So that works out great. And so with this, I have learned that the second thing, which is less is more. I am working with less supplies now, which is really kind of unheard of for an artist, right? We have so many supplies. We love the art store. But this has really helped me focus on what do I really, really need? And less is definitely more for me. In addition to the supplies, though, being less is more, in my art pieces, working small with the Inktober pieces helped me figure out that less is more too. I was putting too much detail into my artwork rather than having just the focal point be the most detailed and then blending out from there. So it helped me a little bit with my style, learning to really focus my piece rather than having so much detail. Okay, number three. Number three was speeding up my process. And it's kind of a given that if you're going to work on your art every single day and you're going to practice every single day, that you're going to speed up. Your process is going to get better, your speed is going to get better, and you're just going to improve overall. However, what I didn't expect was how my process would speed up. And what I mean by that is by working small, I learned that on my larger pieces, I can also work small. I can work on it section by section. That's not typically how I work. I typically do all the outlining, and then I do all the shading, and then I go back and do another round of shading, and then I do fine detail on the entire thing, rather than working in one little section at a time and then moving on from there. This also helped me with what one of my main goals was, and that was to be able to start and stop throughout my art process so that I could go help my son with whatever he needs help with. But this helped me by working small on these little ornaments to be able to go, okay, I can work on a small little section of this much larger painting. And my process got much faster because I was completing a whole area rather than having to stop halfway through something and then coming back and going like, where was I? What was I doing? I was able to really hone in my focus just on that one area. And that has increased my speed. The painting you've been watching me do throughout this video, it's part of my 3rd day series. 3rd day is when God created all of the plants. And so I'm making a series of paintings based on the 3rd day. A painting like this normally would take me about a week to do, but I was able to do this painting in 2 days. Wow, I cut off like 5 days of painting process by doing this, by really being able to hone in my focus on one area at a time. So number 4, having the right tools. I'm thankful that I was able to increase my speed, but I also learned that I didn't really have the right tools to do that. I had commented to my husband that I was really struggling to work on these little tiny ornaments. I usually work much larger, and he asked me if I had ever used pointy Q-tips to do that. Well, no, I haven't, because I work larger and I use my fingertip. It started me thinking, well, am I using the right tools? So I started analyzing that as I was doing the Inktober challenge and discovered that there were a couple of other items I could get, other tools I could get that would speed up my process. So I got the pointy Q-tips, and boy, was he right. Those were the right tools to use for those little tiny areas. But I also got these refillable pens, and they help speed up the process of my outlining instead of using a paintbrush. I also bought a new paint palette. I was using these little kind of like soy sauce bowls to put my inks in, individual inks in, and I discovered that I really needed to have them all on one palette so I could do blending and mixing of the colors. This palette helps do that. So by getting the right tools, it helped me to speed up my process. Okay, the last one, number 5, is a little bit different than the others, and that is make a list for future projects. I always kind of jot down an idea here and there, but I honestly, because I haven't really focused on my art career until now, those ideas were just kind of, floating around in my head. And then when I would get one that I really couldn't stop thinking about, then I would sit down and make that piece. Artist block really is a thing. I know if you're an artist and you're listening, you're nodding your head right now going, yes. There are many times when I have great ideas, flowing, and then I'll sit down to do some art and I'm like, what do I do? I can't think of anything to do. And that really does hinder your progress. I decided to do Life of Jesus prompts from scripture because I am a Christian artist. And I wanted to do, if I was going to do an art challenge, I wanted to tailor it to what I do. So I had to sit down, write out 31 days of prompts of the life of Jesus so I would know what I was going to paint the next day. Having the whole page of prompts really helped me because there were days when I would, the end of the day be like, what am I gonna do tomorrow? I'd look at my list and then I could find, as I'm sitting on the couch at night, I could go into the apps that I look for reference photos on, find reference photos, work out how I'm going to put them together, and the next morning I could just start on the piece because I was already organized, ready to go. If you've been thinking about doing an art challenge, I'm gonna say just do it. Just do it. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.